Hi, this video is addressing this person called Echo Truths, and also Titus Frost, who it appears has decided that the Hampstead case is a hoax. Personally, I'm questioning how much these people have been paid to do this hatchet job of cut and paste of sound recordings, which they have done. They present evidence that's not researched and not validated by any official sources. And if you go through any of my videos, you'll see that everything I present is evidenced. I'm not infallible. I might make mistakes with certain numbers or names and things like that, but the facts, the strength of the facts are solid, okay? I'm not infallible as a human being. You know, I got Victoria Derbyshire's name wrong. I was calling her Victoria Devonshire, because I'm dyslexic and I can read names wrong sometimes. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is evidence now. These videos are more evidence of concern that the children were telling the truth. Because why go to this level? I mean, look, an hour and a half video, okay? An hour and a half video. Oh, look, they're getting money from it as well. Oh, you can pay by PayPal or Patreon. For what, Echo Truths? What have you actually done? Apart from this cut and paste job that's trying to make Abe out to be some kind of monster. But as far as I'm concerned, the recordings here show quite the opposite. Anybody with half a brain. Now, first of all, before people, because I'm going to leave the links to these videos and listen to them, because unlike these Echo Truth and Titus Frost, who are saying they're going to stop people listening to Ella and Abe and the Hampstead videos asking questions about justice for children, they're going to stop it. Okay, so they're out for censorship, actually, aren't they? These are supposed to be the alternative media out to censor. Why? Why are they doing that? Have they got the whole Hampstead crew behind them as well? Yes, of course they have. They're working with the kind of people, okay? That's who they're supporting. They're supporting the kind of people who have set up a website specifically to attack and denigrate anybody that's expressing any concerns on the social internet media about the levels of justice meted out to the Hampstead children and the resulting risks. Okay? So, in order to address that, you know, because they're innocent, apparently, and they're protecting innocent people. So, if you're innocent and you're protecting innocent people, righteously protecting them, what you do is you resort to setting up a website to denigrate all the people who are carrying the lawful suspicion, expressing their concerns publicly about the lawful suspicion. Okay, so what you do is you make up a pack of lies about them and present it as truth on your website. So, you know, they're paedophiles. They've been caught with 800 images, indecent images of children on their computer. They've had children removed from their care. You publish their photos of their street and their telephone number and their address. Underneath, you state your false statements that these people are paedophiles, this person's a paedophile. That's what they've said about me. So anybody reading that, apparently 2,000 people a day click on that website. Anybody reading that who thoroughly believes it, so therefore they believe that somebody like me is a child abuser. I've been convicted for child abuse according to Hampstead. Oh, and they've got the proof. I'd like to see it. Okay? And I abused my own children. I had 3 children taken off me and put into care. Now, these statements are so wild and out there, and that's why people actually believe them, because they think, well, they wouldn't be able to make statements like that if they weren't true. Why hasn't she sued them? Well, I've been to the police 3 times. I've took the screenshots. Has anything been done against these people? No. But these people have powers on the strength of a Facebook post, okay, to get people arrested, up in court, 9 months in jail. That's what's happened to Rupert Quaintance, okay, for a Facebook post photograph. And somebody says, is that a biscuit in your pocket? And he says, knife? Question mark. Because in America, the word biscuit means knife. Okay? They say cookies for biscuit. They don't use that word biscuit. And for that, apparently, he was a threat to the whole Hampstead community. He was stood outside the school that minute with a knife in his pocket. He actually wasn't. He was at home. He'd been there. The photographs you can see very clearly. There's no children present. There's nobody there except him stood outside the school church. He wasn't even on the school premises. So he gets 9 months jail, right? This is the kind of shit we're dealing with. He gets 9 months jail for a Facebook post. This is from police who cannot arrest lawful suspects with fully satisfied arrest criteria, who have the evidence to child witness statements, matching testimonies, details, intimate details of named and known abusers' genitals, and also confirming medical evidence for both children. But they cannot arrest one person out of 70 plus named and known individuals, not even the dad. No, they have to contact social services where the children have said some of the abusers are employed in local social services. The police have to contact them to tell the dad that they'd like to talk to him. He never got arrested, and he was only asked about one incident in a swimming bath. These are facts. These are facts of the situation, okay? And this is what people like myself are alerting people to, because this is the level of justice that's meted out to children reporting crimes against celebrities or people in authority. Okay? It's been systematically shut up and covered up, witnesses seized and controlled. Now, the whole premise of their attack is against Abe. Okay? Well, it seems like Abe in his younger days was a bit of a bad lad. He didn't do any terrible crimes. In this, they're saying that he attempted to rape somebody. Did he attempt to rape somebody? Where's the evidence of that information? It's just pure hearsay. They're saying he got convicted of 37 crimes. Well, I go with the High Court testimony, okay? The High Court summary, where the judge mentions one crime that Abraham was cautioned for, which apparently was an assault against his teenage son. Okay? From whom he was estranged at the time. So, he's had one caution for an assault against his teenage son. The dad of the children, meanwhile, has had countless police arrests for assaults and violence against his family, against his ex-partner and their children. The county courts have ordered that he attend Tavistock Clinic for 3 years to address his violence and aggression. That was 2011 till 2013. He was attending Tavistock Clinic to treat his violence and aggression. Oh, but apparently, according to Justice Porfley, we can ignore that because, you know, being professionally diagnosed with severe mental health problems means that actually, no, it's a malicious spouse who's been making false accusations against him. She had texts on her phone from it, which she'd taken to the police. Now, what comes clear to me, and this is something that people need to understand, we're living in a fucked up, messed up world. People are damaged. Nobody's perfect, okay? We've all got our little skeletons in the closet. All of us act out of character at times. We all respond in different ways to stress. Now, you've got to remember that what you're listening to here, and I'm asking people, be a human being. Have you got the capacity of empathy? Are you intelligent enough to be able to empathise with another human being? Are you intelligent enough to be able to put yourself in their shoes and think, well, how would I have responded to this? Now, personally, I think that Abe, from the evidence I've seen, I think that Abe is a very strong guy, and that he's a real human being. He's a normal person. He doesn't sexually abuse children. He's righteous. He has received an honorary degree for the work that is done on hemp protein, hemp nutrition, which is not cannabis. It's got nothing to do with cannabis. So he's got his honorary degree. He's quite a passionate character, okay? People are all different, aren't they? Some people are very cool, they're not very, don't express much of their emotions, or they're very reserved. Abe is very open and just speaks openly. He doesn't, there's no guardedness about him. So he's met Ella and her two children, and her two children are very, very naughty, because don't forget, listen to the testimonies, what those children have been going through since being toddlers, unbeknownst to the mum, whenever they've gone on access visits, the forced access visits to Dad, and the fact that Daddy goes to school every day and does sex every day. Okay? So you're dealing with two very, very disturbed children who are experiencing this horror outside of the family home, and then they're going home to mummy, yoga teacher, nutritionist mummy. Apparently listen to the children's original testimonies. Mummy's very lovely. She's nice to them. She gives them nice food. She buys them things. No, she doesn't do sex to us. No, she doesn't kill babies. Okay? Daddy is telling them to hit each other, touch each other sexually, to steal off the mum and lie to her and spy on her, and also to do things to Abe, like put his toothbrush around the toilet. So this is what this mother has been dealing with for years, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. Ella, which these forget to mention, you see, they're very, very picky, aren't they, in what they show. And please remember, these recordings that they're sharing here have been cut and pasted. Okay, they're saying, oh well, we've cut the children's names out. I tell you now, they cut a lot more than the children's names out from these recordings. So be very, very, very careful, because this is a hocus pocus, trickery and deceit. Oh, we come to save you. Were you feeling all upset about the thought that London authorities are all Satanists and that's who they protect and that's what they do, they eat trafficked babies? Never mind, come and listen to us. Come and find comfort in a pack of lies. Don't worry about the children, of course that isn't happening. And yet the same fuckers will go on about Pizzagate, and all you've got there is a set of emails and some coded words. But that's enough to rouse suspicion, isn't it? And it is enough to arouse suspicion. It's lawful suspicion. There's evidence there. It's evidence. That's lawful suspicion. Suspicion isn't lawful when there's no evidence for it, and actually the opposite of that is there. So, like I say, you're dealing with a person who's intelligent, who's been campaigning the hemp protein and is aware of all the ills of the world anyway, okay, is an aware person. People who are aware in this world, who understand the nature of the oppression that's attacking humanity, are carrying an extra burden of emotional weight. Because the people who aren't aware of all that aren't carrying it. All they focus on is their own individual lives and what they can enjoy out of this sick, fucked up world. What can it give to them? Oh, well, it can give them iPods, it can give them flat screen TVs, it can give them nice weddings, this, that, the other, and they are the la-la landers living in Toy Town. And they're the ones that this is all made for, to help them stay happy in their cognitive dissonance, in their ignorant bliss. Well, it's all going to come crashing down. And people like myself are trying to prepare people and guide them, i.e. stand up for your children's rights. Demand child protection directives. That's what the evidence of the Hampstead case shows us. So I'm saying, put yourself in Abe's shoes. You're dealing with these two children. The mothers took them everywhere trying to find out what is wrong with her children. She's not been idle. She's not been just casually thinking, oh, I've got two very naughty children. She's tried her best to address that. And that is from her own words, okay? It's on YouTube. They're on YouTube, the videos, the mother's testimony, and her conversations with other people in which she's described how she's took her children to various therapists to find out what is going on with her children. Why are they so naughty? Now, Abe, according to the children's original testimony, has been good to the children. He's bought them presents. He took them on holiday to Morocco. And I think that was the point. That was one of the reasons why the children actually felt safe, because consciously they were disconnected from the local area. They were disconnected from the area of abuse, and perhaps they felt safe and distant. There was a big distance between them and the abusers. Back at home, well, the abusers were just around the corner at school, weren't they? According to their testimony. So Abe's on holiday and he's noticed that the children are touching each other sexually, and he's asking them, who's told you to do that? Because we know that children often are led, aren't they, by what they see going around in the world, or if somebody's said, oh, try doing this, or if they've watched something, they've watched some video of some sex video. Abe wants to know where did they learn to do these things? Why are they doing them? He finds out all this horror. So this horror comes out. The children ask him to tap them with wooden spoons. And they asked for the water, what they called water torture. It sounds like, and they call it water torture in the original allegations. That doesn't come in the retraction, that they say, oh, they did water torture with us. That's what the children called it, water torture. They asked for it. They say very clearly it was lukewarm water, so it wasn't freezing water, it wasn't hot water, it was lukewarm water that he poured over them. It sounds to me like the children, and they asked for that, they were taking part in a cleansing ritual. It was a cleansing ritual because they've been spiritually damaged. It was a cleansing ritual for their spirits. I understand, because I've studied psychology and counselling, and I know children. I'm the eldest of 6 children that I helped to raise, okay? So I understand children, and I understand that those children were handing over power over themselves now to Abe, because those children could not imagine being just autonomous. All they know of men is that they control them, because that's what the dad does. He controls everything. He controls them. They have to do what he wants them to do. Otherwise, he'll kill them if he breaks the deal. If they break the deal and tell anybody what's happening, he'll kill them. That's what they've said. That's what the children have said. That he'll kill them if they break the deal. Now, you're trying to tell me, Echo Truths, that this mum is going to put that in her children's mind. This mum who's took her children everywhere to find out what's wrong with them, why they're behaving so naughtily, why they're lying, why they're stealing off her, why is it they're attacking each other and even hurting the family dog. So she, after all that, taking her children everywhere, she gets together with this boyfriend, you know, because apparently she's some stupid woman, isn't she? She's absolutely stupid. This professional yoga teacher, nutritionist mum. She gets together with some guy. And, yeah, come on. Let's take them to Morocco. Let's spend 2 weeks indoctrinating the children with a pack of lies. But not just lies. The most horrific, disgusting lies that a vegan mother would sit back with her vegan partner, hemp nutritionist partner, okay? They're going to sit there and force children to say that they've drank blood and eaten babies and helped to kill them as well. And as I say to you, to the public, imagine hearing that from 2 children while you're on holiday. You're suddenly listening to this barrage of horror that these children are claiming to have experienced as part of their daily lives from being toddlers, whenever they've been with daddy or whenever they're at school. These are 2 children who up until now, they've been lying, they've been violent, they've been stealing, been very naughty children. And then all of a sudden they're saying all this. Abe, and this is clear from the transcripts, go and read it in the court transcripts, that the child psychologist, apparently top child psychologist, who interviewed the children after they were taken away from mum, after the children had given the retractions, this stupid woman, apparently a top psychologist, right? She's so stupid, even her own statement that she gave in court is damning evidence against her. It's damning evidence because it proves what a crap psychologist she is. Because according to her, she'd quoted 2 quotes to the court that the little girl had said to her. She gave 2 quotes. And apparently these quotes support the theory that it was Abe that coached the children. The first quote is that Abe even accused Ella, mum, of being in the gang. Right? Okay? Now that, a top psychologist should have picked up on. Because how could mum and Abe together be colluding to force these children to tell a pack of lies with aid of cannabis and torture and physical abuse? How is it possible that at that point where they're both coaching the children to say these things, that Abe would then turn round to Ella and start accusing her of being part of the gang? Does that make any fucking sense? No, it doesn't. What that reveals is that Abe is thinking, what the fuck have I got myself involved in here? These children are telling me all this. I've only just met the family, I've only known them for a few months. And with this woman, how do I know she wasn't part of the gang? For all I know, she could have been part of it. And she's pretending that she wasn't. So the guy's suspicious, And imagine you sat there, the two children, that said, what's going on in your head? The man's already carrying a lot of passion and emotion about the ills of this world because he's awake and aware. And then he's hearing this, and he's sick to his guts, and he's probably feeling scared. And then he's probably thinking, no, this can't be. These children are lying, the naughty children. And now we come to the second quote that this top psychologist gave to the High Court hearing of 2015. Go and read the court transcript. Okay, I'm not talking about fucking hearsay of what somebody said on the internet, echo truths. I'm talking about recorded facts, officially recorded facts. Because this top psychologist, the second quote that she gave from the little girl was, Abe said if I was lying, I'd go to prison for 25 years. Apparently, that again is proof that Abe and Ella coached the children. Really? How is that proof? Does it make any sense that a man who's abusing children and forcing them to lie is going to say, if you're lying, you could go to prison for 25 years? Does that make any sense? It doesn't make sense. But it does make sense when you put it in the real context of Abe being very suspicious and of these children now because of their previous behaviour. And they're saying all these things about teachers and police officers, professional people in society. Yes, it does make sense that he would say to that little girl, look, if you're lying, you do realise that you could end up going to prison for 25 years. And yes, he is angry with these children. They've been really horrible to him. He spent money on them. He's shown them kindness, love. He's took them on holiday. He finds out while he's on holiday that they've been putting his toothbrush around the toilet by orders of Daddy. Daddy, who's known that they were going away on holiday and has indoctrinated the children to fuck that holiday up in every way that they can. Because Daddy has full control of his children. So I'm going to play you this little bit of extract. And as far as I'm concerned, this shows an ordinary guy. Yeah, he isn't perfect. He gets angry, he gets annoyed, he speaks his mind, but he's not a deviant. He's not deceitful. He's open and honest. So I'm going to play you a clip.
The father gets to see them every 2 weeks. We haven't let the father see them for 5 weeks because we took them away on holiday. We should not have taken them out of Europe because she has the order. So we shouldn't have taken them out of Europe, so we've broken the order. Yeah. He's supposed to see them every 2 weeks. He hasn't seen them for 5 weeks. So I'm going something he's bagging me out there. It's making noise. What is it?
That's the fire alarm.
Anyway.
Why can't you change school?
They can change school.
They can't.
We're going to do that, but no.
Oh, you have to go all through the whole process and all stuff.
He's going to get them. He's going to get them. If we don't protect them, he's going to get them.
But we still got court order to see them every 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we're not going to let him see them. We can't let him see them.
Why couldn't you keep them in Morocco then and have someone come over to speak to them instead?
Because we wanted you to see them. We're going to send them back to Morocco tomorrow.
I could have come there and speak to them.
When we brought them here, we send them tomorrow.
I could have talked to you.
You only called me once today and once yesterday. Come on, Joe, come on. You don't.
No, I called you. Remember you called several times and called.
I have no missed call from you.
You called several times when we were driving. You did. You called several times when we were driving. And when I called by the phone is engaged, and I said, why is the phone engaged? You just called.
Because I've been talking to somebody else, or I'm trying to call you. Because I'm talking to somebody else, or I'm trying to call you. I'm talking to a solicitor, I'm talking to somebody else, I'm getting advice, or I'm telling my brother John about the situation. I had to let somebody know what my situation was just in case. Oh, not only that, he has a visiting. He's taken the mother to court now again.
Okay.
Because he wants to see his children.
Yeah.
Secret rooms.
Can I stay here then?
Where?
Yeah.
What for? They can, but they will touch each other. And you can't feed them. You can't feed them the diet they need. They are vegan, raw vegan. The mother won't let them eat anything because...
And let's stay with their mother then.
Where?
Yeah.
Stay with their mother here? Yeah. They could stay with us. They could stay with us where we are.
Okay.
Is it a lie? We do not have time for lies. Alright, we can change the law, but he won't come to the house while I'm there.
Okay.
He's too scared. He's not a man. He can kill babies, but he can't fight man. Be quiet or you go outside. When you go outside, come on. Come here, outside. Outside. Don't play around. Stay there. That's it. That's right. Discipline. Hello. Ah. But he's still going to come and look for them jumping off.
Yeah.
And you're going to take her to court. You see? And the solicitor is involved. That's why they can't explain you the story. I have to explain it all to you first. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can ask the questions, you see? It's pointless you asking the questions until you have the whole story. You'll be wasting your time asking the wrong question. Don't mention times yet, alright? You're not supposed to come to Morocco. Right? Oh, we're not allowed to take you out of Europe. Wash your hands, don't make a mess. Come and sit over here together, yeah, please? Sit round at the table properly, son. Don't let me tell you again. Don't let me tell you again, you sit round properly, thank you. Thanks. Don't let me tell you again, sit round at the table properly.
Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So, you can hear breaks in that, and at the point he's saying go outside, he's talking to the dog, okay? He's talking to the family dog. And they've cut bits out, and it does sound like he's talking to the children, where actually he's talking to the family dog. So what you've just heard there is a recording that apparently Abe didn't know was happening. He didn't know that that conversation was being taped by the, was it John Yahoo? John Yahoo, who's, I think, a family friend who works in the community police, as far as I understand. I think that was Jean Clement Yahoo whom he was talking to, and you can hear that he's very distressed, and he's expressing concerns that he'll get the children. And you also hear his sarcastic comment of like, yeah, he can eat babies, but he can't face a real man, okay? And you also hear him say, no, they can't stay here. They've got to stay, you know, if we leave them, they'll be touching each other. They'll be touching each other. Now, those comments are just off the cuff. They're off the cuff comments. They're not rehearsed. So this man has spent 2 weeks having to get his fucking head around all this shit. And I know what it's like, because I know when I was sent the video recordings in February 2015 and asked to look into it. I couldn't move for 2 weeks. I was absolutely horrified. I was sick. I couldn't eat. If during that time I was having to actually deal with those two very damaged children. Oh my gosh. Well, apparently he's evil because he called the little girl at some point, she says that he called her a little C. Well, I'm wondering how most blokes who've been together with a woman for a few months and then suddenly they're having to deal with all of this, and a child who's been really naughty, who's been putting his toothbrush round the toilet, who's under the control of a demonic consciousness, drives him that crazy that he's actually reduced to behaving abusively himself. Well, verbally abusive. And I know for a fact that is what children who have been very badly abused, and especially with physical violence and sexual violence and being involved in murder, who are controlled through fear those children do bring out the worst in adults who just have never experienced any of that, and they don't understand what they're dealing with. What they see is a wicked child. They don't understand that the child is mind controlled. And he has responded out of character because he's not dealing with anything normal here. He's dealing with the thoroughly abnormal. He's tried to respond to the children and treat them in a normal human way. But no, he's dealing with two children that have been involved, been participating in murder of trafficked babies. Children who have been indoctrinated to see him as an enemy. They've been indoctrinated by the dad to covertly attack this man and to covertly attack their mother. They're living in two worlds. But they get suckered into the niceness of Mum and Abe. Why did he call him Papa Hemp? Did he hit them with spoons to get them to call him Papa Hemp? The children state very, very clearly in their original testimonies to police that Dad hit them regularly with spoons. Why spoons? Because spoons don't really leave any type of mark that you could say a child has been hit with an implement. It looks like a bruise because of the rounded edge of it. The rounded part, bang. Oh, they knocked themselves. It was a bruise. If you hit a child with a fork or a whip, there's going to be a mark there, isn't there? In keeping with the implement that you physically abuse the child with. These people, they fucking know what they're doing, these abusers. And it can never be that just because a story is so horrific that therefore we can ignore medical evidence, we can ignore detailed intimate descriptions of certain known and named abusers, that we can ignore the matching testimonies, that we can ignore the obviously coerced so-called retractions. But apparently, you know, Abe's done something wrong, he's a bad man, he called the child a C while under immense pressure. How many parents haven't snapped? I mean, I went to stay with a friend once, and next door, a lovely lady with her two children. She was a widow. Very lovely, well-behaved children. Lovely woman. You know, I used to see her because of their houses are the kind of houses you have to cut through one person's garden to get to another house. Everybody uses the back door. Nobody uses the front doors. So, you know, I'd see her regular, passing in to go and see my friend. One night I stayed at my friend's house to look after her cats. Now this friend had told me before that this woman screams and shouts at her children getting them ready for school in the mornings. And it just seemed impossible to me because she seemed such a lovely, calm woman. But oh my gosh, I heard her shouting at them in the morning. Get down here now, you little bastards! She was a widow, she's on her own, she's struggling, she's working. She has to get her kids ready for school in order to get to work. They're pissing about upstairs. People snap in moments of stress, and I don't think anybody should be judged for what they say or do during moments of stress. Within reason. Obviously, if somebody kills somebody, they've got serious bloody problems, haven't they? But, you know, people might say the C word, mightn't they? They might shout at a little child. You know, I'm talking about a woman who's just stressed about having to get to work and get her two kids to school. She's calling them bastards. How might a man who doesn't even hardly know these children, who's just heard all this shit and found out that they've been putting his toothbrush around the toilet under orders of Dad, after everything that he's done for them, and now he's dealing with all of this, and he's getting shit from one of them, he might call her, he might be driven to calling her a little C. Maybe at that point His mind is half disbelieving what he's hearing. And we've already heard from the High Court testimony of a top child psychologist who says very clearly that the little girl had reported to her that Abe had even accused Ella of being in the gang. Go and read the court transcript. I'm not talking about shit off the internet, off somebody's website, the hearsay. And if Abe had 37 convictions, then why weren't they mentioned in court? Why didn't the judge mention them then? Why did she only mention his caution for assaulting his teenage son? So please do not believe this hocus pocus from Echo Truths and Titus Frost. I don't trust either of you people now. And I'm just going to play you this little clip that amplifies and exemplifies exactly what I'm saying. So just listen to this.
The paedophile rock star Ian Watkins could have been caught nearly 4 years earlier if South Wales Police had investigated the case properly. The Independent Police Complaints Commission says that officers in South Wales missed a series of chances to stop the Lostprophets singer's abuse of children in the years before he was arrested. Well, obviously last week, South Yorkshire Police were also reprimanded for their failings in handling the case. Sky's Laura Bundock has more.
Ian Watkins was a highly dangerous and manipulative paedophile. The details of his child abuse were shocking. But what's also alarming is how the police failed to investigate complaints about him. Among them, one from an ex-girlfriend who said Watkins had texted her describing how he wanted to harm children. But a report by the police watchdog finds officers in South Wales didn't examine her phone. The force refused requests for an interview, but released this statement.
Today's report highlights a number of failings in which information about Ian Watkins was investigated between 2008 and 2012, which the force entirely accepts and regrets. South Wales Police failed to listen and properly investigate information about Watkins' offending behaviour. For this, we are truly sorry.
There you go, for that they're truly sorry. Okay, well, we just witnessed it, all of that happen again. So I'm going to play you into 7 minutes here.
That he or she wasn't qualified to examine a laptop, so whereas...
So just move it back a bit.
The text with a wish list of abuse from Ian Watkins.
Do you know why? Because she was in a sort of on-off relationship with Ian Watkins,
yes,
wasn't she? She'd got this text message from him, which, as you say, clearly outlined his desire to abuse children.
Yes.
She went to the police. Why didn't they look at that phone then?
She went to the police with the laptop. One police officer said that he or she wasn't qualified to examine a laptop, so whereas you and I can look at a laptop and be alarmed and at least interested when we see a picture of an underage child, he or she, I think it was Will, wasn't interested enough because she wasn't qualified. So Joanne went back again and again and again, 4 times in all. So they didn't ask about her phone, but here was the laptop, and she said, I've got a picture that he sent me. They denied in due course that it was an underage child. It was a child of 4 or 5. During the trial they claimed it was a child over the age of consent. They were wrong because Joanne didn't count for them.
In the report it talks about, doesn't it, that they wanted to find the right type of complainant to come along. That's what the IPCC Commissioner says, because of her unconventional lifestyle. Do you think this happens in other cases?
It must do. It must do. So in the same way that police now are told to really listen to young children who claim they've been abused by groups of men, what's the difference? So she comes from an unsteady background, not a conventional background, she's not posh. Actually, my interest in this case began when I saw, after Watkins' conviction, she was interviewed on television. She wasn't glorifying in the conviction. She was disturbed, and it was weighing on her. What could she have done more to stop people, to stop children being in danger? Well, she couldn't have done much more than going to that police station 4 times armed with a computer, emailing the Association of Chief Police Officers, and telling everyone. In fact, on one occasion, she said to people who had the care authorities had the duty to look after children, she said to them, if he does something again, it will be on your head, not mine. She was warning them. She was right. She was telling the truth from the start and all the way through.
It's interesting that the report says that he wasn't treated differently in Watkins because he was such an enormous star, because he was famous.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
I don't accept that. I'm cautious about that. I don't think the report, I've had a quick look at it, I don't think the report mentions a memo that I used during the trial. From one police force to another, it said, he is a famous rock star, she is a former escort who's been sectioned. There's the comparison. It's called celebrity privilege. I know about that.
Right, so you've heard, and he did explain before he made that statement that the section thing was an absolute fabrication, because actually she's never been sectioned. So what we're talking about here is a witness who had solid evidence. She had a list, a text message that was a list saying all the things that he'd like, horrific things that he'd like to do to children. Okay. And she's took it to the police and said, look, I'm really concerned. He sent me this text message, and this is all the things that he'd like to do to children. He sent her a photo of a child of 4 on her laptop. Obviously a disturbing image, because why should she be taking it to the police? The police apparently aren't qualified to look at it. Okay, so you're talking about a wall of denial. What? Old celebrity, high profile person? No, sorry, we're not even going there. A wall of denial. We're here to protect the rich. Is it a rich person? A rich and powerful person, publicly known, who so and so and so and so are all feeding off, because if he goes, they're going to lose all their cash as well? Are we going to get in trouble with the big boys up there? Wall of silence. Who are you? Oh, a prostitute. She was a sex worker, this woman. This witness. But apparently, because she's a sex worker, she ain't even a human being. She's actually less credible than a baboon, isn't she? She's an animal. Her phone, that judgment goes right down to her phone and her laptop as well, doesn't it? Because whatever she's got on her phone, regardless of who sent it, regardless of what it says, it doesn't count for nothing, because she's a nobody in society. She lives an unconventional lifestyle, and so does Abe, and so does Ella, because they're living with intelligence in a world that everybody's been conditioned to eat crap and think of it as food. And she's trying to raise her children healthily and sanely. And what's been happening to them? The very worst, the most monstrous consciousness of society has had its hand in her children, and controlling and manipulating them to attack her and steal off her, and even to attack her partner. And you people who are trying to denigrate this, and my friend Chris Costa, she's done, I'll just scroll down here, she's done a piece here in response to it all. Okay. You can hear Abe and Ella freaking out for their own safety. Not of that of the kids when they knew the police were closing in on them. You can hear the children discussing how they feel about Abe in the retractions. This is from Echo Truths. And thank you, Chris Costa. You can't hear anything on your Trello board because of all the videos, because all the videos you link are now gone, your proof gone. Where is it? I'm sorry to annoy you, really I am, but all of your proof is opinion of how Abe and Ella should have reacted differently than you think they should have reacted. But you've never been in their situation. Why wasn't the father arrested? Not my question, but the Independent Police Complaints Commission. Caseworker Ellen Anderson's questions, and continues, they then had no power to seize his mobile phone or computer, despite G stating that his father had photographs of him and his sister doing on these devices. The exact quote is, Daddy has pictures of him doing sex to me on his computer, but they couldn't check Daddy's computer. Instead, we're supposed to ignore these facts in order for all this hearsay and this cut and paste job that they've done in these videos. And actually, the very fact that they've spent, nearly 3 hours doing this should tell the public the level of complicity that's going on here and conspiracy. And they're doing to Ella and Abe exactly what they did to this lady, this witness, aren't they? That's what's being done. Pick, pick, pick. In order to deny the facts. And what came out? That this lady for years had been going to the police. The police did nothing. And more children were horrifically abused by this Ian Watkins. It's so bad they've not even told us what he did to those children. And you're talking about very young children as well. He was left free. If the police have acted, how many children could they have protected? And that's the issue here. Because child protection directives are about protecting children, preventing crimes against children. How can you prevent crimes against children if you're going to ignore evidence because you don't like the witness? But we're not talking just about witnesses here, just being children apparently. Well, already they basically, the Hampstead children were treated with the same credibility as is given to a sex worker, aren't they? So their testimony counts for nothing. Their detailed descriptions and drawings of abusers' genitals counts for nothing. Have you got any recordings, Echo Truths and Titus Frost, of Abe telling the children what to draw? And lastly, I ask every child psychologist of any merit out there, you tell me, is it possible through abuse and torture to force two children of 8 and 9 while on a 2-week holiday abroad to memorise and repeat all that shit? Is it possible? Because as far as I understand, abuse and torture causes children to split and loss of memory. Now, this is serious. Britain has to face the facts of the Hampstead case. The facts, the evidence, is grounds for lawful suspicion. That does not mean that we can judge all the perpetrators guilty. But the cover-up that's gone on after it strengthens our suspicion that they are guilty because of what they've done, because of the negligence, because they took control of the witnesses, because, as the IPCC has confirmed and upheld, the retractions do appear to be led by the interviewing officer. Not hearsay, okay? Fact. Officially recorded, evidenced fact. So suspicion now has increased, and it includes everybody who's taking part in this conspiracy of silence to silence this case. Who are they protecting? What power are they protecting? Oh, I'm supposed to be scared of it. Well, I've got universal light being with me, so they're not going to scare me. I faced the devil when I was a child. He was called Daddy in my home. I survived him, and I'll survive all these dark, so-called dark powers. Because actually, darkness itself is a benign entity. It's what people put in it with their false lights. And behind it all is money and drugs and hedonism. So it seems that the children's father, because he's a semi-professional unemployed actor who does voiceover videos for Haitian charities abroad, orphanages, children's orphanages, probably where he gets his babies from, some of them. So he is obviously treated with celebrity status by London police, isn't it? Because he doesn't get asked any of the questions about that were in the children's original crime report. He doesn't get asked if he eats babies. He doesn't get asked if he kills babies. He doesn't get asked anything except about whether or not he touched his son's bottom in a swimming baths. The swimming baths have been refurbished. The McDonald's where the children said babies were murdered has been refurbished. The school has been refurbished. The church has been refurbished. The church has had all its wooden floorboards ripped out. Is that not destroying evidence in an ongoing case? Sorry, there's a slight interruption there. So basically, we can see how the system has divided everybody into these class structures of who's credible and who's not credible, who's above the law and who stands under it. Do you see what I mean? And because of those judgments, because of those social judgments, how many children were left to suffer at the hands of Ian Watkins, who, according to the evidence of the testimonies what's been heard, was a sadistic paedophile. And he was left free precisely because of all those judgments. So what does that tell us then about the social judgment structure operating in a nation like Britain, apparently civilised and lawful? What does it tell us about the pyramid of judgment that's operating? It tells us that those judgments are protecting the worst criminals who are doing the worst, most horrific things to our children. Are they? That's the suspicion that myself and countless other people in Britain and throughout the world now are having to live with daily. Because the evidence is telling us there's been cover-ups, there's been criminal negligence that's been employed, we now lawfully suspect, as a deliberate strategy to ignore children's crime reports. There's the witnesses and the people demanding justice, the supporters of the victims who were being denigrated and attacked and having cut and paste jobs done to make videos to denigrate them. But you see, they can't hide from the truth. And even in their videos, as I've just shown you, I've used one extract of this video as an example to prove the very opposite of what they're saying, because they can't cut the truth out. Now, people can choose what they want to believe, and that's your choice. But I'll tell you now, if you want to believe a pack of lies and you're going to ignore facts and evidence, then you are an ignorant, and as such a heathen. It is criminal. It's criminal to ignore facts and evidence in order to cling to a lie that then is going to leave countless children at risk. Babies are being sold. They're being trafficked around the world. They're being sold for abuse and torture. They're being sold for their organs. Wake up, humanity, and protect the children, because they're your future. They are the next generation. And you're being told, oh, there's too many people. No, there is not too many people. There's enough people now on this planet to sort life out and to build a paradise on this earth. What have we got all this technology for, if not to allow us the free time to be creative and to assist one another and to help life? That's what we're here for. We're not here to spend all our time weaving on a machine. Technology has liberated us from that. Are we benefiting from that liberation? No, we're not. They're using the technology to enslave us even more, and actually they want to take us now, turn our world into corporate farms. Corporate communism. That's what's going on. It's an attack against humanity. An attack against children, organised crimes against children, are a crime against humanity. And it is equivalent to psychological genocide of the human being. That is what is going on in the world today. Psychological genocide. Well, stand up for your rights. Stand up for your children's rights, because that's the only way you're going to put anything right in this world, when you can deliver rights to your children and child protection directives. Stand up for them. They've got no right to impose austerity on a child when your children's human rights are being honoured. Those who, if you attend to the weakest of your society, that's how you get strong. By strengthening the very weakest, and the very weakest are children and babies. And they are at risk in this world. And the facts and evidence of the Hampstead case, there's solid grounds for solid suspicion. You know, not a load of hearsay and quotes off people off the internet who provide no facts to support what they're saying. All the facts and evidence that people like myself have mentioned, and people like Chris Costa here and so many others, they're officially recorded facts. We don't ride on hearsay. No justification has been provided as to why the necessary criteria for arresting a suspect has not been met. On 8th of September 2014, there is a further entry on the Chris by DI Canon that a strategy meeting had been arranged which included representatives from the school as a priority. As a priority! That was like within 3 days of the children reporting their crimes to police. Before the medical evidence had even come in, they are organising a strategy meeting with people from the school where the abuse and murder is alleged to have taken place, people from social services where many of the alleged abusers are employed. 2 of them apparently get babies of poor people in England. So, you know, this video is just over an hour long. Thank you for taking time to listen. I do appreciate it, and I know it's a difficult subject, and that's the courage and strength that we need to show now on behalf of the children, because they've had to live it. And whether these 2 children, the Hampstead children in particular, were telling the truth about what they've had to live with or not, nonetheless, it is going on in this world on a huge scale. You know, the child abuse industry, it is a multi-billion-dollar international industry, okay? But children are living this. But regardless, these children had a right to justice. And as we've seen, the police are ignoring things because witnesses aren't deemed credible, because the people that the crimes are reporting against are big and powerful, and they've got other big and powerful people connected to them as well. And if you touch them, oh, stay away from them. No, go away, police force, because that ceiling is gone, okay? That ceiling of what level of crime you're allowed to go up to, that's gone. Because you are going to have to treat every single child as a VIP. You're going to start believing their testimonies. You're going to check that wherever there's smoke, you're going to check that there's no fire, because that's what the child protection directives do. You're going to start protecting our children. Otherwise, all I can say is that all these people who are complicit in denying justice to children of today, then what you're actually doing is denying justice to yourself. You will suffer as a result in so many ways that won't even appear connected. And with austerity, it does mean that there's a greater increase in child abuse, because that's what people are now turning to make money. We know that. We know wherever there's poverty, children are most at risk. So, you know, Echo Truths and Titus Frost, it may be that you genuinely have been taken in by this so-called evidence that you think you've got. It may be that you're just blind to the truth. You've got a blind spot somewhere and you just didn't know. So I'm going to leave that open for you to think again and change your minds. And you will find a friend in all the people that have been upset by your cut and paste job here and you stringing together of hearsays, hearsay after hearsay, in order to discredit 2 children and collude in denying them justice and encourage people to turn off a mother's desperate pleas for justice for her children and all the other children implicated. On 6th of September, mere hours after the allegations were reported, it is noticed on the Chris report that by D.I. Cannon that there is no supporting evidence from the wider community to support this allegation and no other witness victims to support this. How is that possible that a few hours after the allegations were reported? How can he say that when the children have given the names of the 20 special children, including which they're included, in their school who were suffering the same abuse, and even the names of the parents? How can they say that there's no other witness victims to support this? 18 other victims attending the same school, suffering the same abuse and participating in the same crimes, forced to participate. And they didn't go and check on those children. And you, Echo Truths and Titus Frost, you think that you can deny all those, query after query after query, in order that we can just totally discredit, you know, the fact that Abe's got a snapping point. The fact that they live unconventional lifestyles, Ella and Abe. Like this lady. Let them get on with it and find out 10 years down the line that, oh, the children were telling the truth. Oh, and then what? The police are going to come out and say, I'm sorry. What? After how many more traffic babies need to be murdered? How many more children need to suffer abuse? Please wake up and please understand now that this is evidence. This is evidence. If these people have knowingly attempted to falsify the truth, which, as I say, I've left the door open, that they might genuinely be suffering from a bit of cognitive dissonance there. But if these people have knowingly done this, Titus Frost and other people that have colluded to try and discredit the facts of this case and deny justice to children, if they've knowingly done that, then this is evidence now of just how far this cover-up is going. Because don't forget, they've already employed the BBC. So, you know, big love and big thanks to everybody who has the strength and courage that have faced this, even though it caused them immense pain. It's terrible to, you know, once you start going into this case and you start realising the evidence and the implications, and you realise that this is present day now, that this is going on, this is our world today. You look at Pizzagate, you look at what's coming out that's been going on in Hollywood, you look at the 2014 United Nations Child Protection Committee report that describes London as a sex capital of the world, a child sex capital of the world. Right? That's what London is described as in 2014. Thousands of children are being trafficked into London every year, they state, and hundreds of them abused in brutal religious ceremonies. hundreds of them, every year. Now, is this going on in our country or not? Are the police colluding to protect them or not? Is the whole establishment engaged in protecting these people or not? Why are arrest and conviction rates extremely low for organised crimes against children? So far, they've managed to arrest a few Asian gangs. Well, what about these professional people that the UN talk about who act in gangs and groups? That the Marantha report describes as having, they like to have people in positions of power and authority in the group because it increases their impunity to commit crimes. Now, it's got too big because it was left for years and years and years. Nobody did anything about it, like they didn't listen to that lady. And Ian Watkins, do you think that he was just one person on his own abusing these children? Where are all the other people that should have been arrested who were connected to him? Because obviously he didn't go and get those children by himself, did he? He was part of a gang and group. Well, where are the others? That's the kind of thing we need to be asking ourselves when you're dealing with this, that level of sadistic abuse he was committing against children. Who else was involved in it? Where's all the other connecting people? Because we need to remove this root out of our society. It's got to be removed because it is a psychosexual disease. It does infect generation after generation. It does use mind control techniques and fear and terror and coercion. It does profit in every way off the abuse. And it does re-victimise the victims. And it does discredit witnesses according to their judgment criteria for what can be a credible human being and what can't. It is a consciousness and it is an attack against our humanity. That's why they put that system of operation, isn't it? That system of judgment where, you know, you can give full trust and credibility to somebody because they're a professional. But, you know, a sex worker or a poor person or an alcoholic maybe even, you know, no, we won't give them any credibility whatsoever because they're just poor. Or somebody who's had a mental health problem, which in fact, they lied about that lady, saying that she'd been sectioned and she had mental health problems, because that was an outright lie. And that's what they do, you see. They have to ultimately resort to outright lies, don't they? In order to support the distractions. So my video is exactly half the length of these two videos put together. I hope that the people who've watched this now understand the wheat from the chaff, understand the difference between wheat, truth, and chaff, lies. And please, 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 stand up for your children's rights. Write to your MP, write to every authority that you can, demanding, asking the questions of this case. Why? Why was fully satisfied arrest criteria not acted upon? Please, I want child protection directives implemented immediately. I'm very concerned as a parent. Do it. I've done it. Write to your MP, write to the Lords, write to the Children's Commissioner, asking them why they haven't spoken out in the light of this case, which is very rare that we get these cases public because they're all covered, kept secret, under the veils of the secret family courts. So this is the tip of an iceberg, and you look at the level of conspiracy that's been going on and the kind of people that have colluded in it. The most powerful, all the people of every authority in central London, from the High Court to the local police, social services, and even BBC News and the media, have all colluded to cover up and deny the facts of this case and deny justice to two little children. And what? like I say, in 10 years' time, they're all going to come out and say, oh, sorry, yeah, it was true. Yeah, sorry, thousands more traffic babies were killed in that period. Because, you know, what is it? Oh, well, you know, they're working to the Georgia Guidestones principle. They're helping to bring the human population down to under 500 million. Because these people are so insane, they're so thick in the head. The reason why there's been population explosions on Earth is because women have got no rights. That's the simple truth of it. In every country where women have had a modicum of rights, birth rates have fallen. Populations stabilise when women have rights, their human rights of autonomy and choice. And rights to be something other than a sex and baby producing machine. Live with balance, live with law, live with righteousness and dignity. You won't suffer any imbalances. But you start trying to control people, denying their rights, oppressing them, then you're going to have every type of imbalance. And you won't be able to cope with it. Oh, but the richest people can. That's why they get rich. So they can sail above all the misery and shit. And that's what they need, because that's what they're rising on. The hot air of shit. Well, human beings rise from the depths of their thought and their connections to truth. We shall rise like a tree grows tall from the ground with deep roots, deep foundations. And that's why when we stand tall, we shall not fall. And we can bend. Because that is our strength. That shows the strength. That we can bend and sway with the wind. We don't snap and break like lies do and liars. And they get so angry because they don't like it. And I've been angry at people who have been colluding to deny justice to children, who have gone into nitty-gritty little details, hearsay, cut and paste jobs that they've not even properly interpreted, like that stupid so-called top psychologist that spoke at the High Court hearing in support of the children's testimony being coached. And actually the two quotes she used proved the opposite. And as I've just shown the clip that I've played from one of these videos, actually it proves the opposite. So, you know, to people, as I say, come out of the cognitive dissonance, get active, stand up for your children's rights. Remember that we are talking about lawful suspicion. We're not talking about hearsay. We're not talking about malice here. And our objective is, one, to rescue those two children, the two child witnesses, and all the other children implicated that they've named as suffering the same abuse, to stop the flow of traffic babies and to find out exactly who has been involved in that. This crime goes international. To give therapy to the children who've been further damaged. According to our lawful suspicion, those children have been further damaged, because the very people that they've gone to for help have actually colluded into silencing those children. And I know, I feel very sure that those children, once the police had took them off their mother, that those children were told, look, you've admitted that you helped to kill babies. You do realise if you keep saying those things, you're going to get into very serious trouble. You're going to end up in prison because you've admitted to helping to kill babies. So you need to think very, very carefully. And there's evidence to support that suspicion. Okay, that suspicion isn't just from my imagination. There's evidence to support it, because right at the end of her retraction interview, the little girl says, and I'm quoting from memory, but this is the gist, the truth of what she said. I was really, really scared. I was really worried about, you know, what was going to happen if I kept on saying those other things. I was really worried about what was going to happen to me if I kept saying those other things. That's what she says at the end of her retraction interview. Why would a child say that in a retraction interview? What kind of retraction interview is that? At the end of the interview, the child says, I was really worried. I was really scared of what was going to happen if I kept saying those other things. Sorry about the interruption again. So, you know, what child says that at the end of a retraction interview? I was really scared. And she was in care of the local authorities at the time. She gave her so-called withdrawal interview, that she's suddenly retracting everything that she said before, and actually her statement absolutely contradicts her brother's so-called retraction interview, his withdrawal statement. So, you know, this is what is going on. And people like myself, yes, we are at risk. You know, I'm addressing some really powerful forces. I'm just on my own. I haven't even got support, much support, even off my own family. Okay? What's been going on in the external world that I'm dealing with? Sorry, I'm getting nuisance calls. So yeah, I've been getting nuisance calls off probably Hampstead people who somehow got hold of the landline number here. They got hold of my street address and things like that. So, you know, these are the kind of powers that these people have. Personally, I don't spend my time trying to attack these people. I don't go to the homes taking photographs of them. I don't publish their names and addresses and phone numbers, and, you know, I don't make any accusations towards them. I state my lawful suspicions against them, okay? And I'm asking them to prove their innocence, because let's face it, how difficult is it to prove your innocence as a head teacher of a school? To go to the police. Personally, if it was me, okay, I'm a head teacher of a school, so I'm not stupid. I've had to do a bit of studying in life. Apparently, I'm intelligent. I'm a credible member of society, because I can string a few thoughts along. I can make decisions. I can understand facts and knowledge and put them together. And this story breaks in February 2015. I've got the whole alternative global internet media spotlight on my school, on my pupils, on my staff, on the parents of the children in my school. We're getting hate messages. We feel threatened. What do? I look at the case and I think, well, actually, this mother, I'm not surprised that she's upset. I'm not surprised members of the public are upset. We've got this mountain of historical abuse coming forward right now. We've just had the Child Protection Report in 2014 stating what's going on in London and in Britain. Why didn't the police immediately come to the school in September and just ask me to show my genitals to their police medic, so that I could prove I haven't got a port wine stain all over my vulva? I know that I haven't got that port wine stain, and so I'm pretty sure that the children's descriptions of my staff's genitals are probably false as well. I can't say for sure because I've never seen them. So what would I do? What would I do as a headmistress of a school in central London? How am I going to get round this in February 2015 when the police are no longer trusted, social services, none of them, they've all been implicated, it's all public, all the evidence against these people that are from the testimonies of 2 children whose statements are supported by medical evidence and who provided detailed drawings and descriptions, verbal descriptions of abusers' genitals, repeatedly, staff in my school. Can I go to the police now? Will the public trust what the police tell them? If we all go to the police and the police say, no, they didn't have any tattoo drawings, who's going to believe that? Who's going to believe them? The suspicion's still going to be there. So how am I going to address it? What do I do? I say, I get on the public forum, me and my staff do a YouTube video. We give a public conference and we make a statement to the mother, a plea to the mother. We say, look, we are disgusted at the level of justice your children have actually received, which actually they haven't received any justice as far as we're concerned. We think that the police handling of this case is a matter of serious concern given the very serious nature of the crimes. And although we ourselves are innocent and we feel that these crimes have not happened, or perhaps not in the way that the children have described, we're not saying the children haven't suffered abuse. We would like to help you get to the bottom of this, to find the truth of what's happened to your children, Miss Draper. So what we've decided to do is to let you choose a GP and a nurse, an independent GP and a nurse of your choice, and a venue, and myself and my staff will attend that venue and submit to medical examinations by the independent GP and nurse, and from there we'll see what we can do. And myself and my staff will be joining you in bringing complaints against the London Constabulary for failing to act on fully satisfied arrest criteria, for failing to investigate this from the start, because as far as I'm concerned, their negligence is directly responsible for this now going public today, and me and my staff and my school and my pupils and parents being put at risk and suffering severe harassment and hatred. That's what an innocent person will do. I believe that innocence will not scurry away as all those teachers have done. Left the school, changed their names. Those are not the actions of innocent people. Their collective silence is actually evidence of their guilt. It's evidence to support suspicion of their guilt. This is what I'm saying. We're talking about lawful suspicion here, not hearsay. We're talking about facts and evidence, officially recorded facts and evidence. These are presenting hearsay and a cut and paste job. And no, they've not hidden it. They've said, yes, we've cut out the children's names, and oh yeah, we cut that bit out. You know, you're listening to a cut and paste job here. So, again, is this evidence of just how far these people will go to keep the public dumb, to keep the children coming freely? It is time for people to wake up. It is time for people to wake up and to stand up for the children's rights. And as I say, for those who've had strength and courage to face this and who will take action, because action is needed. And as I've said, stand up for your children's rights. Demand child protection directives. Get online, write to them, write to your MP. All you do is put your postcode in, your MP address, it'll all come up. You just click on your MP right away. They'll send a confirmation link to your email address, and you click on it and it's gone to your MP. It's as simple as demand child protection directives. Ask questions about this case now as an example and evidence of the tip of an iceberg of how children are being left to suffer in our society, how people's crime reports are being ignored. Solid evidence was ignored because the person providing it wasn't deemed credible. How many more children are suffering on the strength of these social judgments, evil social judgments? Because this woman, she didn't just turn up at the station making wild statements, did she? She had a text message detailing the horrific things this man wanted to do to little children. She had a laptop with the photos of a 4-year-old child on it. And it's the same with the children, isn't it? They've got medical evidence to support them. They've done detailed drawings, intimate details of their abusers, named and known abusers. They've described crimes that they really had no idea of. They didn't know about baby trafficking. They didn't know the term trafficking. They just knew that this group somehow got babies, and they describe how the babies were brought in. 2 8- and 9-year-old children could not know these things, and I do not believe that Abe and Ella coached those children to say those things either. I find that incredible, that people committed to healthy living would do that to 2 children. And that actually we should believe that they have done that, because Abe, under immense pressure, has snapped and called one of the child's under an abusive term. Get real. Get real, because if you don't get real, these monsters are going to get more real than you. They're going to get more real than humanity, and there will be no humanity. So you need to make your mind up, Britain. Which side of the fence are you on here? Are you on the side of justice and rights and child protection directives? Or are you on the side of the opposite?